Hello, you guys. Happy Saturday. Good evening. Or is it still considered evening? No, it's 9 o'clock. So, hello. Happy, good day. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloopers. Happy Saturday. Good night, I guess. I just wanted to come and chat with you guys about identifying when you're not okay. So this has just been a conversation that's been had over the last few days, and I had an encounter where I finally got to identify that I was not okay. And many of us are, if you're like me, I am what I like to call the strong friend. So I am someone who, people call me to get advice, people call me to vent, people call me, I'm pretty much, again, we all know what the strong friend entitles. And, so I've always taken that role. I think I like that role. I'm kind of like a mother role for certain friends. And I've always taken that role or just accepted it simply because I am the oldest on my mom's side, and my mom has 5 kids. I'm the oldest on my father's side. My father has 12 kids, and I'm 31, you guys. So I've always taken the role of being like the mothery, the overprotective friend, the like bodyguard. But I'm also like your safe haven. I'm your safe space. I'm your biggest cheerleader. And over the last few days, I've just been kind of like identifying different areas that I need to improve. Yes, people, we have to identify areas in our life that we have to improve in. So I am someone who I'm not vocal oftentimes in what may be bothering me or what's wrong with me. And now, because I'm trying to take a new route, I'm trying to become a different person. I desire to be different. I desire to grow, and I want to be better than my bloodline. I want to be better than my mother and my grandparents and my great grands and my hey Andy. So basically, just trying to, as I self-evaluate, of course, I want to grow. So when you self-evaluate, I think we shared this on a live before where I said, when you self-evaluate yourself, you're kind of more honest with yourself because you can kind of look at yourself and you like, sis, that's when you do that, that don't be right, So I was over analyzing and I shared it with somebody. I was like, I have gotten to the point where I've noticed that I cannot vocalize how I feel oftentimes. So oftentimes, the reason why I said, are we able to identify when we need help is simply because, are we acknowledging when we need help? Simply because many of us, we don't acknowledge it. So I know yesterday I told you guys to check on your strong friends. Many of you guys reached out to me privately and was like, I did it. And just the conversation that took place with you guys reaching out to your strong friends, or if you were the strong friend and you took the initiative to make a phone call to someone that you felt like could be there for you as you vent and just lay it all out on the table. A lot of you guys felt free yesterday. A lot of you guys felt, just overjoyed. You were very you was in a better place yesterday because you was able to release those things that you had, that you were holding on to. And I feel like a lot of us don't acknowledge. So yesterday in my post, I also said that when you are asking someone or checking in on them, let's stop doing the generic, hey, how are you? And this is not something that I came up with. I like to give credit where credit is due. I actually was watching an interview with Sarah Jake Roberts and 2 other ladies. I can't think of their name right now. One is Stephanie, but I can't think of the actor name. But they were doing an interview. This is probably about a few months ago. And in that interview, they said that I want to say Sarah was basically stating that now instead of asking people, how are you? She likes to tell people, how's your heart? And I put that in my status on yesterday because I am guilty of when people ask me how I am, I give the generic answer by saying, I'm doing fine. And how are you? Hello, sis, peace, and my brother. Hello, and love you both. I love you too, Katrina, and I will tell him that you said hello. So I am guilty for when people say, hello, Tamika, how are you? I'm like, I'm doing good, and yourself? Or I'm doing well in yourself? Or, I'm all right. I'm blessed to be alive. I always give those generic answers. And I came to realization that I no longer can be that person. I no longer can give that answer. So from now on, even if people don't say, Tamika, how's your heart today? If they ask me, Tamika, how are you? If it's someone that I trust, if it's someone that I know that truly is genuine and they love me and they're going to be able to take whatever it is that I tell them what's wrong and be able to kind of like nurture me and love on me, that I'm going to release that, because holding that in gets you to a place where you get resentment. It gets you to a place where you get, I feel like it puts you in a place where you feel like you're all alone. You start to overanalyze. You start to overthink. You begin to self-sabotage. You begin to think that you're the issue. And no one should feel like that. You should not feel like you're the issue. You should not. And I also want you to understand too, that someone told me on yesterday, so thankful for that. And someone told me that today, to not dismiss how you feel. Do not feel that when you're feeling a certain type of way that it needs to be dismissed or it needs to be ignored, or that you don't have that authority to feel the way it is that you do. Oftentimes, you guys, when you feel something or when you sense something or when something is bothering you or something is off, I'd like to say, people like to call it, intuition or whatever, but that's your discernment typically. Typically that's, you feel some type of way for a reason. So you need to address it and you need to make it known. And you oftentimes too have to find someone. Many of us don't have outlets. So we are unable to, because you do have a right. Yeah, you do. And I'm learning that you do have a right to feel the way you feel. I'm also learning, and I shared that with your husband, Indy, that you also have to be okay with how people feel. When someone tells you that, they feel a certain type of way about a situation, even if you don't agree with that, you have to be okay with acknowledging how they feel and being okay with it and respecting that boundary. But I want you guys to truly ask yourself, have you identified when you're not okay? Have you truly been able to identify times when you're not okay, days when you're not okay? I know all of our days look different. Many of us have 9 to 5. Many of us are self-employed. Many of us have children. Many of us have spouses. A lot of us have our daily routine is very different. It is uniquely created to fit our life. But when you're not okay, how do you identify it, or have you identified it? For me being transparent, I did not identify that I was not okay. So although I get on here, you guys see me on live a lot, I'm always smiling. I'm always, doing what I need to do because I'm very professional. I know how to do my job. But, I didn't know that something was wrong until I exploded. So you have to learn how to identify when you're not okay, but then you have to ask yourself as well, do you have an outlet? Do you have an outlet? And I think many of us do not have an outlet, or we do have an outlet, but we're afraid to use the outlet. And that was me. I don't want to get on here and say, oh, I don't have an outlet, because I have plenty of people in my corner that I can, pick up the phone and ask for prayer. I can pick up the phone and just ask like, hey, let me get your advice on this. Or I can pick up the phone and say, I'm having a bad day. Like, I just need to vent. And then I need you to just get me together. Let me have a pity party for about 5 minutes and then snap me out of it and say, sis, who are you? Let's go. And so do you have an outlet? Many people don't, but many of us do, but we don't like to utilize our outlet. So my transparent moment with you guys is that I have a lot of outlets that I feel like are very trustworthy, that are very available, they are accessible, and they're very loving and nurturing, and it's a no judgment zone, but I wasn't using my outlets. Hey, Takesha, thank you very much. I wasn't using my outlets. So because I wasn't using my outlets, I was also not acknowledging I was not okay. So I wasn't acknowledging that I was not okay. And I was not utilizing my outlets. So I began to overthink. I began to self-sabotage. I began to create, a certain dynamic where it became unhealthy. So after a few weeks of not utilizing my outlets and not acknowledging that I was okay, I exploded. And I think many times everybody explosion is different. Sometimes people explosion can be suicide. Sometimes people's explosion can be a panic attack. It can be an anxiety attack. Sometimes people explosions, if it's not suicide as far as there's death, it could be the attempt at suicide. It could be a heart attack. It can be a stroke. You know, we oftentimes forget that things that are left unsaid or things that are festering can essentially boil over and can be detrimental to not even yourself, but those around you. And so when you're not acknowledging that you're not okay, and when you're not utilizing your outlet, or if you don't have an outlet, if you're not finding an outlet so that you're able to express that, you know, you're internalizing these things. You're self-sabotaging. You're making yourself feel like it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you. It's not them, it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you. And it's like, no. Oftentimes we do, have to take accountability, because sometimes it can be you, but if you're not in that space where you can acknowledge, I am not okay. First, that's number one. We have to acknowledge that I'm not okay, but then we have to find resources and say, do I have an outlet to express that I'm not okay? I've been in that space before. And I think we all have, Takesha. I've always been very, like I said, I've always been the strong friend. I've always been the strong sibling, the strong daughter, the strong mother, the strong wife, the strong businesswoman. Just because, again, I've always been like mothery, or I always had that mothering spirit to my friends. Like I just can, you know, encounter myself like growing up, middle school, high school, like, and I felt like I took that role, and I didn't mind having that role simply because I was the oldest. So I was the oldest of my mom's children, oldest of my dad's children. I always felt like, you know, and I assisted my grandma with raising my two younger brothers. And so, you know, I've always had that, you know, just like overprotective, like, mother, I love you, I'm here for you, you know, call me if you need me. And literally, I am that person. If you have a Tamika in your life, I am that person that I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm going to edify you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to support you. But I'm also always there when you need me. Even if I don't want to be, I am there. That's just who I am. I always try to give out what I won't receive back. So in all of my relationships, I try to make sure that I put forth enough effort so that if I'm giving and pouring into you, when I need it, it can be received. But oftentimes, because I am the strong friend, I feel like I didn't utilize my outlets, which are my other friends, because I felt like, well, they're already going through this. Like, oh, I don't want to call this friend because they just called me about this situation, and I don't want to dump all of my problems on their lap, and they just gave me their problems. Like, they just gave me their suitcase. I can't give them my duffel bag. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I felt like I was being selfish for using my outlets, not understanding that my outlets were there for a reason. So when I went and utilized my outlets on yesterday, they were furious. They were upset with me. They were disappointed in me because they were like, you got to this point where you didn't have any help. You got to this point where you didn't have anyone to, you know, to vent to reach out to express how you were feeling. So you kept this bottled up for weeks at a time. And then now you're at a point where you have exploded. You know, and like I said, everybody explosiveness or everyone's breaking point is different. Some people commit suicide or attempt suicide. Some people have a heart attack. Some people have a panic attack, an anxiety attack, a stroke. Some people just go out on a deep end and just kind of, you know, you'd be like, they're having like a midlife crisis. Like some people just go there, you know what I mean? And hold on. Your feelings are your feelings, and no one can take that away from you. Just be there and listen with an understanding ear so that you can recognize when someone is not okay and need a shoulder to lean on. Yes. What I identify as well, Katrina, is that I want my growth is me being able to be okay with my part. You get what I'm saying? So you're like, I think as we grow and as we encounter different things, and, you know, I think all of us, like I said, because we all live a life, we deal with a lot of people. So we deal with people in our job, we deal with people in our business, we deal with customers, business acquaintances, we deal with our spouses, our children, our children's teachers, the doctors, the dentists. So, we're encountering different people every day. And every relationship is uniquely different. And I'm learning that, like you said, Katrina, you have to be okay with listening and understanding. I am trying to get better with listening and understanding. I talked about that on my podcast, actually, to have effective communication, to be able to comprehend what is being said to you, because oftentimes what someone says is not what we hear. And so the conversation can easily go left. So being able to receive what is being said to you with an open heart, and being able to be like, okay, I can acknowledge that X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be. So yes, that is definitely something that I feel like a lot of us need to understand, because a lot of us don't communicate to comprehend. We kind of just communicate to get it out. And my thing with me is I want to grow, because again, I'm being transparent. I want to grow to a place where I can not only receive, but I can put out. Oftentimes, I know me, I'm very dominant. So I'm a dominant trait. I have a dominant characteristic trait. So everybody cannot receive that. It just depends on who you are and where you meet me at. I can say it definitely depends on the environment in which we meet, because some people have met me in the work environment where I were at my 9 to 5. And sometimes I could be, my dominant trait can be very aggressive, or it can be like, okay, like, she thinks she the boss, like she the supervisor, but she ain't the boss. You know what I mean? So I'm learning to be able to pray about it first, but ask God to give me the right words to say, because I know that for me, my tone oftentimes can come off as like, did she say that to me? And I love this. I love the fact that I've been like self-evaluating myself, and I've been like dissecting myself, like, girl, this not right. This not right. We got to get rid of this. This can't get us nowhere. We can't go in the next season with this. So I love that. So I know for me, a week that I have is that normally I'm always quick to respond, or I'm quick to speak. And oftentimes by doing that, I may say exactly what is on my mind. And oftentimes that's not needed, because the tone in which you say something and the verbiage in which you articulate that sentence can come across not receiving to the other party. So my growth is, I desire to grow where I can make sure that what I'm saying coincides with my tone, but it also coincides with this, my face. Many of us wear our emotions on our sleeve. I am one of them. So, my growth is, Tamika, get your tone together, get your verbiage together, so your words can articulate what you're trying to say. But also, if your tone is right, it can be received by the person in which you're trying to deliver the message to. So yes, it definitely comes with time and patience. So I'm definitely asking God for patience all the time, because I am guilty of the person like, I ain't got patience. It's a virtue that I do not possess. And I know that that is not the way that I have to go. So yes, patience is something that we all require and we all need, because it's definitely a virtue that we all need to possess. And yes, many of us listen to respond. So oftentimes what someone said, all we heard was, they may have gave us a sentence with 10 words, and we only heard 3. And the 3 that we heard was negative. So we're in attack mode as soon as we respond, versus listening to the entire sentence, dissecting what is being said to us, and then responding. So I'm guilty of that. Listen to respond. Always being in defense mode, always ready to go to war. Like, hold up. And for me, my mouth, my words have always been my greatest weapon in fighting. You know what I mean? Not like physically fighting, but you know what I mean? When I'm having an argument, I've always known that my words can cut deep. I can hit below the belt. I can say things that are, not nice. And I can say things that we can't come back from. So I know that that's a toxic trait that I don't want to carry on into my next season, into my next, my next growth spurt. I don't want to carry that on and let it trickle down to my children, because that's something that is disgusting. You know what I mean? But that's something that I've done for years. And that's something that now I can identify and be okay with myself and say, sis, we have to move forward from that. You have to grow from that. That's something that you can't carry over to your next season, to your next dimension, because that's not ladylike and it's not of God. So yes, I agree. And then I had to understand, are we setting boundaries? A lot of times we don't set boundaries. I am someone that is guilty of that. I tend to not set boundaries. I tend to kind of just let things flow. And when we don't have boundaries set, again, that's when the explosion may occur, or that's when the tension may occur. That may be where you're like, if you don't have any boundaries, when someone crosses that boundary and you get mad at them, they don't even know why you're upset, because there was no boundary set at the beginning. So that's like dating. You know, you and this person have decided that, you know, after a few dates, after courting, that you guys are gonna, you know, only see each other. But let's say that's something that you want, and that's something that is transparent. Like, you feel like, I think that he stopped talking to everyone, and I'm going to go ahead and stop talking to him. But if you don't identify, like, hey, after we've been courting for 3 to 4 months, you know what I mean? I'm ready for us to be exclusive. If you don't set that boundary to say that I want us to be exclusive, that other party may not have that same mindset. And then when you find out that they're entertaining someone else or multiple people, you're upset, but it's like you never set the boundary in the first place. So I didn't know that this was even required of me. So we have to set boundaries, because boundaries allows us that space. It allows our safe haven, but then it also allows people to know what they're getting when they get us. Because when a boundary is set, then they know that, okay, Tamika doesn't accept this. Tamika said, if I do this, this is the end. Or Tamika says, if I do this, there will be problems. So we have to learn to set boundaries, and you have to set boundaries. I think people are afraid to set boundaries in the beginning, but you have to. Boundaries have to be set at the beginning, or it has to be set when you sense that someone may overstep a boundary that you don't want them to overstep, or they may do something that you may not be receiving of. So definitely make sure that we set those boundaries. And I'm getting to a place where even in my businesses that I'm learning to set boundaries with, you know, office hours, and with having access to me as far as like my personal cell number, like, you know, learning to redirect customers and clients to the right resources and the right platform, so that I'm not bombarded and overwhelmed. So I'm learning that I have to set boundaries, because if I don't, I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to feel unappreciated. I'm going to get tired and exhausted, and then I'm going to explode. So back to the key question at hand, acknowledging not being okay. Have you identified when you're not okay? Like, what triggers do you have to let you know that I'm not okay? I know for some people it's panic attacks, it's anxiety attacks. Some people just know. Some people are very in tune with themselves and who they are, so they can identify when they're not okay. And then they're able to express that vocally. They're able to express it to those people that they use for their outlet. So do you guys have any triggers that let you know, or let you identify and acknowledge that you're not okay? That's my question for you guys. Who has triggers that lets them identify and acknowledge that they're not okay? Is there anyone watching that has any triggers that lets them know that they're not okay? Because I'm just identifying this, I'm trying to think. I think with my triggers, what would I like to say? I want to say my triggers will probably be, I don't know yet. I feel like I had a lot of different things recently. Let's see. I got a comment. Hey, Marvin. I hope you're having an amazing Saturday, beautiful. So do we have it? Does anyone on here listening have any triggers that allows them to acknowledge and identify when they're not okay? I think let me see. I would say when I'm impatient. So I'm not impatient. Let me make sure I say this correct. A trigger for me is when I'm short patient. That's what I would say. Anytime I'm very irritable, that should be that I'm going to start paying attention to that trigger, letting me know and acknowledging that I'm not okay. Because, you know, none of us should be easily agitated or easily irritable or, you know, on edge. So I think for me, that would be a trigger. Anytime I'm in that season or I'm in that space where I'm easily agitated or I'm irritable or I'm like snappy, then at that time I need to stop in that moment and identify and acknowledge what's going on around me, what's been happening recently, so that I can identify that I'm not okay. And then I can take that and utilize my outlets so that I can express these things and release them. I'm sorry, y'all, I got a text. But yes, so I think if you don't have any triggers, figure those out. Figure out what triggers or what things click in your head or what things happen around you when you can finally stop and say, dang, I'm not okay. Let me identify and acknowledge that I'm not okay. Something's off. Let me identify it. Let me address it so that now I can express it, release it, and then move forward from it. And I think that's me. In this season, I've always been very dismissive. So I want to outgrow that dismissiveness. I want to be, you know, I want to acknowledge. I want to react. I want to acknowledge. I want to resolve. Acknowledge, release, resolve, proceed. I like that. Can somebody type that in the comments? Acknowledge, release, resolve, and proceed. So in this season, I no want to be dismissive. I no longer want to be dismissive of how I feel. I no longer want to be dismissive of a situation. I want to acknowledge. What did I say? Acknowledge, release, whatever. I forgot just that quick. See? But that's what I'll go back and write it because I will write it down. I really like that. But I definitely do. I want to tackle things head on. I want to tackle things in the prime. I want to tackle things while it's relevant, while it's present, while it's happening. I think a lot of us, we like to hold things in. We like to house our feelings. We like to house our emotions. We like to house our resentment. We want to house our anger. And we just want to house it until however long, until we release it. And oftentimes that is what is destroying us because we're not acknowledging it and releasing it in the moment when it needs to be addressed. We're not pinpointing the things that need to be addressed and acknowledged so that we can release and proceed. And those things are vital. Those things are important. Those things mean a lot because we need to be able to identify and acknowledge what is going on so that we can process it, we can release it, and we can let it go. Yes, I am quick-tempered in some situations. I know this about myself, so I try to take time out to breathe so that my reactions are not fueled by my anger. Amen, sis. And that right there, that speaks volumes. So the fact that you have acknowledged that, then you know that you have to take, you know, the necessary steps to be able to complete that assignment or that situation or address whatever it is that has caused you to be quick-tempered. And I think that's the best thing for us. A lot of us acknowledging where we fall short. And I like that, sis. That was very good. And I think, thank you, Marvin. Acknowledge, dismissive, release, proceed. Yes. Listen. If y'all don't screenshot that, save it to your phone because I'm going to make me a sticky note and put it on my laptop because it is Tamika no longer wants to be dismissive. Tamika wants to acknowledge, release, and proceed. Acknowledge what is wrong, release what is wrong, and then proceed. And I'm not saying when you proceed that the precision is going to be the outcome that you want. It may not be, but understand that once you acknowledge it, once you release it, you have to proceed. There's no doubling back. There's acknowledgement, there's release, and there's proceed. That way, you can successfully unload all of this baggage. We got like 5 duffel bags, 6 suitcases, a host of hangers. We have too much baggage that we are housing inside of us, and we're only releasing it when we see fit. And then we become like my sis Katrina. Now we're quick tempered. Like I said, remember I said one of my triggers is anytime I'm easily agitated or I'm easily irritated, that should let me know that, Tamika, you're not okay. Because certain things shouldn't trigger you in that way, that you're so quick to react. You're so quick to respond and lash out. No. So if we start tackling things head on, then we can be able to acknowledge it, release it, and proceed. And I know it's different situations, because I know it's different, when you're in a marriage, because they tell us all the time, like, don't go to sleep mad in your household. So I know it's different when you're dealing with your marriage. I know it's different when you're dealing with your children. I know it's different when you're dealing with your parent or your sibling or your coworker or your business partner or whoever. Every situation and dynamic is different. But I think if we start acknowledging, I'm not okay, I've identified that, but now we start acknowledging why I'm not okay. Let me release this, and then let me proceed. We're no longer housing things that we don't need to be carrying. We're having all these backpacks on, all these purses, all these luggages. We're carrying so much weight that we can't properly function. We're not functioning at our optimum level. We're not functioning at a high level. We're not functioning at success. We're not functioning at abundance. We're not functioning at overflow. We're not functioning at increase. We're not functioning at prosperity. We're functioning on turmoil, chaos, drama. And in the end, that leads us to a bunch of nothing. A bunch of things that, hold no value. They hold no quality in your life. So yes, I enjoyed y'all. Like, I think that's it. I think I don't have anything else to say to y'all, but just acknowledge not being okay and identify when you're not okay. Figure out what things around you happen, or how you are responding, or how your mood is, or how you're feeling. Try to start to identify when you're changing within, so that you can identify, like, okay, this trigger lets me know that something is off. And I'm happy for this season, because I'm able to identify that I can't always be the strong person. I have to use my outlets where that I can release those things that are bothering me, because if I don't release them, then I cannot grow and I cannot move forward. And like I said, I have great outlets. I have some amazing men and women in my life that are amazing. They know how to pray. They know how to fast. They are loving. They're not judgmental. And they inspire me and motivate me in ways that I can't even explain. Like, get you some of them, because I got them and I ain't sharing. But I was not utilizing my outlets. And I know some of you guys don't have outlets. So if you don't, find you some good outlets. But I had outlets, but I wasn't utilizing my outlets, because I felt like I'm the strong one. I don't need to I don't need to be expressing, what I'm going through or how I'm feeling, because I didn't want to give them my duffel bag when they already gave me their suitcase. And I am in my growth. I plan to, when I am asked the question, how are you, that I am going to respond truthfully and not just with the generic response, I'm okay, how are you? So I challenge you all that when someone is asking you, how are you? And I'm not saying doing it to everyone, because everyone is not someone that you need to vent to. Everyone is not receiving. Everyone is not, genuine. You definitely want to make sure it's someone that you know that truly loves you, that truly have your best interests at heart, that truly cares about you, and that can really take the information or the situation that you're giving to them, that you're pouring out to them, and help make it right, help make it better, give you the resources that you need, be the support that you need, be the listening ear, being the crying shoulder, or being someone that can intercede and pray on your behalf. So I do. That day was hard. Yesterday was very, very hard day for me. I'm just thankful, y'all. Like, marry a man that knows your love language. And if you guys don't know what that is, Google it. But marry a man that knows your love language. Or if it's men watching, marry a woman that knows your love language. Listen, my husband, whew, that man of God, in that moment when I exploded on yesterday, the things that he has done within 24 hours just to assure my peace, to ensure my happiness, to ensure my love, and to ensure my safe place, my environment, my safe haven, my sanctuary, the things that he did in just 24 hours to ensure that I was okay. Marry a man who knows your love language. Marry a man that, oh my God, just marry a man that truly loves you, but not only love you, but that loves God. Like, I am so thankful and grateful for him. Like, he was right where I needed him to be. And even with me, like I said, I hadn't identified that I wasn't okay. So I was even lashing out on my spouse, and he didn't understand why. And I didn't even understand why, because again, I wasn't able to articulate and put into words why I was feeling the way I was feeling. So I was just psh, psh, psh. And even in the midst of that, and once he fully was able to identify and help me dissect what it was that I was feeling internally and what it was that I was feeling mentally, the way that he nurtured me like a baby, or nurtured me like his wife, and brought me back to life. Like what I look like today, just because I just had, a good day, I know I look good, but baby, I didn't feel like this over the last few weeks, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So the fact that I feel this, I know it was God, because I've been heavy in prayer over the last 24 hours. But my husband, you guys, get you a mate that knows your love language. Get you a mate that can pray for you, that can pray with you, that knows the word of God, that loves God, but most importantly, that loves you and puts your needs first, because that meant everything. Without having that solid foundation, and without having my king, I don't know how I would have overcame yesterday. So I am thankful for him. Woo, yeah. I think I might got the world's best husband. Okay. If you married and you watching, no offense, but baby, that right there, that's a mighty man of God. And I was reminded of that within this last 24 hours. I really had to soak up and truly understand who I married. Sometimes you have to like catch yourself and be like, do you know who I am? I had to look at myself and say, girl, do you know who you married? Woo. Like, girl, you highly blessed and favored. If you ain't got nothing else, that man of God that you got up there is more than enough. It's everything. But I thank you guys. I love you. I have kept you guys long enough. I'm hungry and ready to eat. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Continue to give me some feedback. If you happen to catch this on the replay, #replay. And I thank you guys. You guys have an amazing Saturday night.